Is it just me, or is every big game these days a first-person shooter? I mean, it's not too bad because they're fun. I mean, who doesn't like blowing stuff up? But I kind of miss the days when platformers dominate the market. You know, back when the Nintendo 64 was around and every game tried to be Super Mario. Yeah, it was an interesting time. Some succeeded and some failed. Today's game fell somewhere in the middle, but at the very least, it was extremely interesting. I'm talking about Chameleon Twist. This game is a classic example of failed potential. The core idea is so brilliant that it could have been one of the greatest platformers ever made. Unfortunately, it's so thrown together and sloppy that the end result is just meh. The main character, Davy, despite his appearances, is a chameleon. Yeah, like, he starts out looking like a lizard, like an actual chameleon, and then there's like this Alice in Wonderland shit going on, and now he looks like this. He kind of reminds me more of a frog or some kind of super friendly E.T. ripoff. Anyway, appearances aside, Davy's abilities all revolve around his tongue. It's like super long, like a chameleon. And it's cool to control. Basically, you press a button to launch the tongue, then you use the analog stick to control it. Awesome! You have full control over its movement. This was a great use of the then new Nintendo 64 analog stick. With your tongue, you can lick up enemies, which can then be fired back like machine gun projectiles. You can pole vault. You can latch onto these wooden posts and pull yourself across gaps. You know, kind of like the hook shot in the Legend of Zelda series. Or, if you don't like that, you can swing around. That's my favorite move, because once you get the hang of it and how to swing properly, you can skip a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, aside from the neat tongue mechanics, the rest of the engine is pretty lackluster. Davy's jumps are responsive enough, which is fine, but there's no variety. It's not like Mario, who can do a double jump or a triple jump, or a long jump, or a U-turn jump. And say you're walking along a narrow ledge and you slip, Mario might grab the edge and try and pull himself up. Davy just falls to his death. It seems a little primitive in comparison, because it is. And the worst thing is the camera. And I know that's a common complaint in these 3D platformers, but here it's inexplicably bad. So there's this collectible on this ledge. You can see it kind of poking out. I want to turn the camera to get a better look so I can drop down and grab it. I try moving the camera and look what happens. I can actually move the main character completely out of frame. It just pans left and right. In Mario 64, the camera is centered around the protagonist. It follows him, and you can spin all the way around him as the central point. In this game, I have no idea where the camera is centered. In some areas, it's like a security camera. Yeah, it's just nestled up in the corner of the room looking down at you from afar. And more often than not, these rooms are the toughest ones to beat. Yeah, sure, this would be really fun if I could see what the hell I'm doing. Observant viewers may have noticed these gold crowns lying around. They look pretty special, huh? Kinda remind you of the stars in Super Mario 64, or the Jiggies in Banjo-Kazooie? Well, they're similar, but not really. Each level has a set number of crowns, and it seems like a big deal to collect them all, and sometimes it is, and other times, it's completely not. For example, here's a room where you have to use the pole vault move to launch yourself high in the air. Then, as quickly as possible, you have to lash out your tongue, grab the post, drag yourself in, then spin yourself onto the platform. You get 3 crowns for that. Seems a bit excessive, but hey, I guess you earned them. Here's another example. You see 2 doors. One's locked, one's open. You walk into the open door. Hey, what do you know? There's like 8 crowns here. Awesome. There's not even an enemy guarding the door. What, they just run out of places to hide them? So like, it, let's just put them all here. And the other misleading thing is you don't really need them. Yeah, I'm not even kidding you. There is 1 door in the entire game that requires crowns to open it. It's in the last level, and there's nothing behind it. Well, there is something behind it, but it's not worth your time. What it is a really poorly programmed pool minigame. It seems so tacked on and so pointless, it doesn't even work at all. Without the incentive to collect crowns, basically it all boils down to running from point A to point B and clearing each world. The levels are long enough, I suppose, but there's only 6 of them. And what's even crazier is you don't even have to beat them all. Yeah, you beat Jungle Land, then you get a choice of 2 levels. You beat one of those, you get another choice, and then you're at the last stage. You can beat the whole game in like 20 minutes. And that's not like a speedrunner, you know, breaking all the rules. That's an average player. So I'm just having a little freezy break here, right? And I got to thinking about frozen desserts and how Chameleon Twist and Dairy Queen should collaborate in a little partnership and make a new dessert. They wouldn't even have to come up with a name. They could just call it the Chameleon Twist. It's perfect as it is. And I mean, I'm a bit sketchy on the details, but it could be, you know, strawberry and chocolate and maybe a little bit of vanilla kind of swirled up. No, they already have something like that. But they'll think of something. They're smart. I've already alluded to this throughout the review, but I might as well just outright say it. The level design's kind of a mixed bag. For the most part, it's all fun, jumping around on platforms and licking up enemies, but the developers sometimes recycle rooms completely. There are areas that use the mechanics effectively, such as spinning around on this pole to land on platforms without touching the ground. This is fun. But then there's other rooms where it's like, oh no, rock monsters. Incredibly weak rock monsters that take 1 hit each. Then there's rooms like this. Hey, the walls are spinning and ants are coming out. Eat all the ants to open the door. And I didn't mind doing this once, but the developers, being the lazy SOBs that they are, decided, hey, let's just do it again. You know, later on, in the same level. But why did we have to do it again? We've already done it. You didn't even make it any harder. It's the same damn thing. Visually, the game is unimpressive, and I know it's an early Nintendo 64 game, so you can't be too hard on it, but there's an over-reliance on 2D sprites. Again, I'm going to cite laziness because clearly they didn't feel like modeling enemies, and the ones they did model are very simplistic and boring. And sprites are okay, a lot of games use them to create the illusion of 3D characters, but here they're kind of subpar. They're all pixely and hard to make out. The bosses are all 3D and, for the most part, interesting. The monkey you gotta knock off the cliff, and this other guy you gotta like shoot off his tail segments. The queen ant's the only one I can't stand. The mechanic's fine, you latch onto the pole in the middle of the room and trip her. When she's down, you lick up her minions and shoot them back at her. The problem is, every time you land a hit, she adds another spin to her rotation. So, she keeps spinning and spinning, then you hit her, she spins 3 times, then you hit her again, she spins 4 times, and it's so easy to avoid. It's not really dangerous, it's just boring. You're sitting around, counting the spins, waiting for a chance to move. So do I recommend Chameleon Twist? I don't know, it's hard to say. If you're a platforming veteran, and you've played Mario and Banjo more times than you can count, and you're looking for something new, yeah, why not give it a spin? Just don't expect a lot, and you won't be so disappointed. For added replay value, the developers at Sunsoft have included a 4-player deathmatch mode. Yes, that's really in there. Yeah, tongue-to-tongue combat. Souls will be crushed. My only question to you is, who's in? No, seriously, does anyone want to play with me? Anyone?